If you keep setting your prices at McDonald's level, you have no reason to get to a steakhouse.
Welcome to the PushPress Podcast,
where gym owners learn to dodge bad advice, crush their competition, and actually make money doing what they love. Let's get after it.
What is up, everyone? We are back. Hey, cheers, dude. Great to see you again.
Cheers. Here we are. Nashville, Tennessee.
You guys may hear some rain. You guys may hear some thunderstorms. I think our team's got it all muted out, but we are getting tornado wake-up calls in the middle of the night. It's one of those trips yet again. But
never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Here we are. So something that's always interesting. We see a lot of brand new gyms that come into the PushPress ecosphere. They come in, they're opening their doors. They want help with their grand opening. We get a lot of like what should I know? What would you tell me if you were doing it all over again? So thought it would be great to maybe do an episode where we talk specifically about like what advice would I give to, myself whenever I first opened my gym, or what advice would Dan give whenever we first opened a gym?
How often do you lay in bed at night and kind of daydream about what would you do if you opened a gym again?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. So this feels like a very natural episode. I mean, God, if I could redo my gym, there are so many things that I would do better, do differently, or just start with. And I guess we can unpack that in this episode. This will be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I do think like we see the same struggles time in and time again. And so definitely want to dive into like the repetitive things that we see, because I think probably around 1,500, 1,800 free gyms currently using PushPress. And that's all targeted towards these brand new gyms that have just opened their doors or are in the middle of opening their doors, right? So we see a lot of these issues, day in and day out. So yeah, let's we're sitting down over coffee with a brand new gym owner. Let's wrap.
All right, let's do it.
So, number one, stop training, start leading. I don't know about you, but when we first opened CrossFit 913, we trained nonstop.
Trained like got after it in the gym.
It was we were watching John North lift on YouTube. Watching him train on YouTube in between training sessions, rather than like, I don't know, studying something about business.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you guys ever do the same?
100%. I was in the John North era as well. That was dude, he died and came back to life. You know that?
Oh, yes.
That was crazy.
Oh, man. Those videos were, gosh, I'm going to go rewind some of those and watch them back.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the general concept here is like a lot of people get into gyms or into fitness or into opening a gym because it's fun to be involved in the fitness industry. It's a great place. Good endorphins, good vibes. So it's like, I want to do this all the time with my buddies, with my friends, and they don't get into it to actually start a business.
Yeah. The interesting thing is how everything evolves over time. And I think in our day when we opened gyms, it was like 1,000% that. Like it was like the club, the good old place to hang out. No business was being done effectively. I do feel like the newer gym owners in general are much more business aware. I would say they're not savvy yet, but they're aware. And so we're in the right direction.
Yep. Absolutely. But this is the one that I think I see. We still do see it. But to your point, God, there was a gym owner I talked to just 2 weeks ago who I was so impressed with the way that he had outlined his concept and all the nuances that he had gone into.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so odd that it was one of those like, oh, wow, that's a different approach. You've thought through every angle of the real estate, of marketing. Like he was in it to start a business. Now, also, this gentleman was like 50 years old and he had retired from like military. So he's like doing this as his, as his next thing, right? So there might be something with stage of life in here too.
So one thing I think if I can go back, speaking to the business end of things, I would bake right into my budget a mentor from the get-go. So it's like you have to understand you're probably going to be burning money or in a race to break even as soon as you can. And I would consider hiring a coach or a mentor, or at least having someone that you work with for free or for cost, ideally for cost, because that means they're going to hold you more accountable and they're going to be professional about it. right into the P&L from the get-go. So it's like you got rent and you got a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
What does that monthly cost? You race to that break even, not just rent.
Yep.
Because I think the coach or the mentor angle of it is something you cannot not have in your first year. It's like the most important to set the right foundation, to set the right guidelines. You don't have to unfuck later. Just do it right from the get-go.
There's probably like a growth curve that when, as you're saying, that's what comes to my head of like with mentor, without mentor. There's so much, it's not always like, what don't you know? Obviously, you don't know what you don't know, which is why you need one. But there's something about speed and getting off, like shooting out of the gate hot in your first year and allowing a mentor to just accelerate your growth curve in that first year. That's going to change the trajectory of your business rather than if you just try to slog through it for the first year.
Yeah. There's actually a chart on it that I use to teach gym owners how to sell PT that actually showcases exactly that.
Okay.
Like, I mean, forget the fact that I was actually doing research for this for something else, but forget the fact that like as much as 90% of goals go wasted if you don't have an accountability partner. Like that's actually a proven fact through studies. But this will be impossible to show with my hands and fingers. But basically, like if you have a guaranteed outcome in whatever you're going to do, the time that you cut when you hire someone to be your accountability partner, and especially if you hire someone who's like holds you accountable and knows how to do it, is so dramatic that it's a no-brainer because the gap in time turns out to be the value. Like if you start doing economic shit, like the delta in time is the value that you've derived. And then actually, if you continue that growth chart forward, it's like you can see you've gone 4 times farther in the same amount of time that if you try to do it alone.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's, to me, that's the cost. That's the ROI of the cost is time, which turns into revenue.
What if you can't afford it?
That's a super good question. I don't think there's an answer. I don't know of any, like, I'm not deep enough in the coaching space. Like, is there someone with a free program? I know Best Hour's messing with that.
Yep.
I don't think it's forever free, but there's like some like get in and understand the value.
Yeah. I would say, if you don't feel as if you can afford it, right? Maybe you oversunk on equipment or real estate's expensive in your area or whatever it is, right? Like, what are the gyms that are doing it really, really well?
Yeah, because there's another gym that can't afford it either or doesn't want to afford it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
or who has been there and who's willing to give back their time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just go to their gym, observe, pick their brain for 30 minutes, an hour once a month, download what you can, and then go implement it, right?
This is where it's so important to have the mindset that you're not competing with the gym in your town. I can see it being pretty likely, like if you're an established gym in your town and the new gym in town comes to you and wants help, you're gonna be like, yeah, kick rocks, dude. Like I'm not telling you what I know.
Yep.
But the reality is like we're all on our own growth curve and we all need help from somebody. And I think the idea of being willing to help is important.
100%. 100%. All right, moving on to number 2. Cheap clients will kill your business. So we see this a lot, which is this: I open my gym, I've got this new lease on my shoulders that I got to pay for. I've got this equipment that I've got to, that I spent a ton of money on. I'm not paying myself much. You want to join, but you can't afford 180? What about 150? 130? Okay, cool. Dude, I'll take care of you. Let's do 130. Because it's just whatever cash I can get. And it's this like race to the bottom, decreasing your value. And we've done an episode, and we'll link to it on pricing. But yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. But there is just this self-fulfilling prophecy of like, I don't know that I can deliver the value that I'm asking for, and next thing you know, you are unable to do so.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mindset unlocks, hopefully a gym owner can get listening to this, is I use this analogy all the time. Pretend you're in the dating scene. I know maybe some of you are. I'm far removed. But if you went on a date with somebody that you were interested in, and they were ultra thirsty, like, let's go home, you would immediately be like, wait, what's going on here? Like something's weird. This is off. You are not high quality. Like you would just raise so many question marks in your head.
Mm-hmm.
It might make you pause. So that's what you look like as a gym owner who's like, not 180, 150. How about 130? 120. What do I hear? 110, 110. You know what I mean? Like, like the consumer is going to be like, what the fuck am I buying into here? Like, if they're willing to just meet me wherever I am, the quality threshold has to be low.
Yep.
Like I'm dealing with a Walmart here. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Got to charge what you're worth. I always thought it's difficult. It was difficult for us in the early days of 913. And again, this whole episode, I just take myself back to where the mistakes, right? We were young. We hadn't experienced, I think, like a lot of the maybe finer things in life, a lot of like the high value services firsthand to understand what's really out there and what you can charge if you deliver a premium service. Now, I think to your point earlier about like maybe that's the industry's moving in a different direction. Like we're getting better at this, and we're sharing what are those best practices, what are the best, roll out the red carpet for clients, right? But if you've never experienced great service, you're going to have a really hard time delivering great service.
In the fitness space.
And
here's the thing. It's like, it's not a far stretch. All of us have experienced great service. All of us at one time have gone to a hotel that was like, ooh, this is out of my league, but I got in, I'm here, and you get to see what happens. We've all been in a high-end car, whether it's, you're Ubering it or you own it. It doesn't, it's like, it's not a stretch to go like, I've been in a Kia, and then I've been in a really nice car, and I could see the delta. And you can do the same for fitness, whether you are it yet or not. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like, you've got to believe that you're it, and then get there.
Yeah. Right. And show that you're trying to get there. I think the difference is like the mental disconnect. Is that where you're going, and how hard are you trying to get to that level of value?
But you'll never get there unless you set everything against it.
100%.
Like if you keep setting your prices at McDonald's level, you have no reason to get to a steakhouse.
I'm hungry, Dan.
Maybe I am too. That's why. Right. So, I mean, and we see this across the system. So like we look at a lot of the data, and the average revenue for the average revenue of memberships across all of PushPress, let's call it $110 to $115, which to me is too low for boutique fitness. And for our top 90%, we're talking about $200 a month average. Right. And a lot of times these averages skew because people are like, oh, for my top 1% gyms or 10% gyms, I know they charge way more than 200, but it's like, that's an average, which means they have people paying $400, $500, $600 to make that 200.
Wow. That's a pretty staggering difference between the two.
It's almost 100%.
Damn. Okay. Moving on. Stay small until you can't. So the pressure from feeling like you need to make money, I think, manifests into getting into too many programs, trying to do too many things. And, we just spent the last few minutes talking about setting a very intentional, very high value marker. But most people on their way to it will pivot off. That they won't drive it to done, and that ultimately sets the business back. It feels maybe like you're getting a little dopamine hit because you did something new, but it's actually not impacting the business in a way that's going to affect your profitability. It's not going to, not going to lead to better long-term growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I have 2 points to make to this. The first one is basically, most people don't get into opening a business because they're risk adverse. And so we have to understand we have a natural tendency to want to try to do new things, do more, our solution to problems is build something new, right? And so what we have to do is go against our natural inclination doing that. There's a quote that I love, which is basically, most entrepreneurs die of indigestion, not starvation, meaning like you're trying to eat too much. So get your one offering really good, charge a premium for it before you start thinking about a second offering. The second thing, I think, which is what drives a lot of us to this predicament, is we build more things because customers want it. Instead of building like the thing all your customers really want to excellence, you build a whole bunch of little things that all the customers are asking for. And we do that because we're empathetic as all hell. Like most of us started a fitness business because we care about the people in the community we serve so much that when someone says like, hey, can you do a yoga class? We're like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Whereas really it's going to be such a spin up of all your time and energy, and you're going to hire a yoga coach to come in and coach 2 people for 3 months before everyone realizes it's not fun.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you can look at, data points such as, churn, retention, um, CSAT, NPS. Like, there's things you can do to say, like, have I built this pinnacle of value that then give me the right, so to say, to go and build the next thing or do this offshoot or do the next location or whatever it is.
Yep. And I guess, this segues right into the next one, which I think is the lowest hanging fruit for all new gym owners, or not all, it depends on your background, but for most of the gyms that we see in the network, I would focus on sales and onboarding. And like part of this whole, I believe I'm worth 200 a month or 250 a month or 500 a month or whatever, is understanding how to sell. And then once you understand how to sell, you can back that into understanding how to build the product that you can sell. But it starts with the fact that, like, you've got to know the frameworks of sales. And I know I'm speaking to the choir here about this, but I don't think a lot of gym owners still to this day really lean into all of the things you have to do to be a prepared decision maker for potential clients.
Yeah. This one is maybe the biggest miss, I think, that even our gym had early on, because I didn't understand exactly I think back in my youth, I just assumed that my business partners knew exactly how to sell and that they would handle it, right? Big false assumption on my part. But it's like, oh, well, they're great at fitness, so they can surely demonstrate the value of it. Way more to it than that, right? And so one of my points here is, like, you need to dog food your own product. And that's not just the classes and going to your classes and doing those things, but it's like, go through your prospecting process, go through your lead funnel as if you were a new member or a new prospect. And what is it like to take an onboarding session with a coach at my business, right? And if you're a solopreneur, like, and you don't have a business partner or whatever, then obviously that's a different story. Like, you should still go through your sign up flows, and you should maybe take your spouse or whoever through the sales process.
If you're solo, I would make a friend do it.
Yep.
Like, hey, do me a favor, go through this process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other quick point I want to make on this is I actually think onboarding is the biggest. So sales is important because that allows you to sell it allows you to set the price, build the value, understand how to communicate the value, understand what your customers want. And that informs how to build the product behind it to that value level. But onboarding, I think, is the one everyone misses. And that's because I did this in my gym. It's like, you build your fundamentals class, which is a 5-day program or something, and you call that onboarding, and you cram fucking like 2 years worth of information into 5 days, and you set them free, and you wonder why only 50% of your members are left after 6 months. So what we see again across the whole network is retention rates, or churn rates at this point, because it's 50-50, after 6 months is 50%. Which means half of the people you sell today are gone within 6 months. That's staggering.
And what we were talking before we fired up the episode here, Dan, was that what you had actually seen in our data was it didn't matter the source, meaning
nothing mattered at all. Not even,
they could come through on a paid ad. They could come through from a referral. That's the jaw-dropping one to me, which is, I bring Dan into the gym as my buddy, and he has pretty much the same likelihood of churning in the first 6 months as if Dan came in by himself on a paid ad.
Yeah. For context, I'm building a keynote right now that has onboarding as one of the legs. And I was trying to find a data angle that says, like, you need to sell and bring people into the business this way, because that way it'll help your onboarding rates once they get into the onboarding. And what amazed me is nothing really dramatically changed the onboarding rate. The 6-month retention rate, right? To me, that's the metric of onboarding, is how many people stick around for 6 months. Didn't matter if the referral, how they came into the business, if they bought a high ticket, low ticket, nothing mattered. It was like basically between 47 and 56% was their 6-month survival rate in your business. And although that's like 8% or something difference, it's not enough. Like, I would expect if you had a really good onboarding program and a referral came in, you'd have an 80% retention rate. Was not the case. So what that tells me clearly is onboarding is a fucking big hole. Like, if you can bring a friend in and have them pre-sold, basically, like we see referral purchase rates are higher on a recurring plan than not. They still churn.
They still churn. And you said this the other day as we were working through our upcoming book together, which was, onboarding is not a line in the sand when you finish whatever the fundamentals class is, it is a feeling many, many, many weeks down the road that the member is like bought into the business and engaged. But right now as an industry, we largely treat it as a line in the sand. And once someone crosses it, like, you're in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I think the big reframe on the onboarding side is like, you need to pay attention to your 6-month churn rates and understand that is the efficiency of your onboarding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. This next one I love, which is
save the best for last.
Save the best for last. Intentionally drive engagement.
Yep.
I think you and I are both big on intent and not just leaving things to chance. And we see this in our gyms that are running our new committed club feature, which is that we're not just going to say that we have a committed club and hope that some coaches nudge some people and talk about it. We're actually going to build it in the app, and we're going to make it in such a way that it's in front of the members, and it's very, very, very well designed and intentful. And you want to speak to maybe some of the data that we've seen around committed club so far?
Yeah. So everyone probably knows what committed club is. Basically, you set a line in the sand for your members. If you come this many times a month, you're included in this club. What does that mean? Probably not a whole lot more than just the status and the feeling of saying I made the committed club. So there's not a whole lot of cost to doing this. It gamifies your engagement relationship. And what we've seen is of the members that make the committed club, and we've only had the committed club up for 4 or 5 months. So the stats here are, the N is low a little bit, but the early trends are very, very impressive. Meaning, like, again, going back to the churn rate of a normal member after 6 months is 50%. The churn rate of someone after they make the committed club, or the retention rate, I should say, after the first 4 months of data we have, 96%, right? And that's not actually mind-blowing, because probably your best clients are making the committed club. But what the learning here is 2 things. One, you want your middle of the pack to make the committed club, and maybe figure out how to make the worst of your. This is how you turn your middle of the pack into the best clients and your worst clients into the middle of the pack, right? That's how you. This is how you create the process for it. But number 2, the biggest thing I had was like, it's apples to oranges saying 6-month retention is 50%, yet committed club is 96% after 4 months, because this person could be like 3 years into their journey who make the committed club. But what the learning for me is, like, get someone to make the committed club in month 1. Like, make that part of your onboarding. Talk about the committed club during onboarding. Tell them, like, why, like, hey, you get the Yeti, whatever the big prize is on the first month. Why not let your brand new member win that? And let's see if we can turn this like 50% retention rate into 75 or 80%, because we're doing this, driving it from day 1.
I love that. I mean, fitness is hard. Stepping into a group fitness gym is hard, you know? So we're talking about just stacking a lot of hard things, intentionally driving early wins in that onboarding process. And I'm not going to rewind us back to onboarding, but again, the intentionality of driving engagement early and often is the way that you can overcome someone like hitting those hard things and just being like, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, a lot of these things that we uncover or talk about are not rocket science. Like, everyone knows if you show up in the gym, you're going to get the results you want. And everyone who buys a gym membership wants results. We're just trying to build enough education around and process and features around the fact that, like, well, this is just how you do it, right? And the committed club is it. So if I was opening a gym today, going back to the episode topic, I would drive committed club through onboarding, and I would give them I would tell them, like, this is only for your first month of being in the gym. If you hit the committed club in the first month, I'll give you a month free. I'll do something like over the top big, or I'll give you a Viore branded shirt or something, because I want to establish that pattern from minute 0, right? You show up at the gym, you get part of this elite club, you get all the perks that come with it, but I expect you to do this in month 0.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. The last one we have is Gym Happy. This is another cool one, right? So this is, this plays into the concept of cognitive dissonance or cognitive alignment, which is a big heady topic, but it basically means, like, you can't say something and do another thing without it being in conflict of each other. And your brain naturally wants to align the things you say, the things you feel with the things you do. So it's, again, this is about manufacturing or architecting the outcomes you want. If you can get somebody to openly and outwardly say to the world that they love your gym, they don't leave. And the stats show that. So again, same thing. The 6-month retention rate after someone leaves a positive review on Gym Happy is between 90 and 92%. So we've dropped churn down to about 1%, right?
Right.
A little bit over 1%.
And for context here, for some of our listeners who may not know, Gym Happy is a natural language AI, basically like engagement tool that we've built that captures sentiment of the member after a class and then drives them to leading a review. So when we talk about intentionally driving engagement, this is a platform that allows you to scale how you capture reviews compared to the let me put the QR code on the wall and just hope that someone scans it.
Yeah. Again, we want to remove hope, and there's always some hope, right, to any of these. But what this specifically does is a few things. One, it asks for the review after a class, so it uses like timeliness. The review request comes from the coach in the class. So I believe heavily in the idea that like we want to reciprocate to people. So if a coach just made me feel good in class or got me a new skill or helped me get a pull-up or whatever it is, and the coach asked me for a review, I will do it. Like, and we will get stats on this eventually because some gyms review the gym, not the coach. But I will bet that coaches probably get 3 times more reviews than businesses do because of the reciprocity.
Yeah,
right.
I would agree with that.
And so again, if I can go back and talk to myself when I'm opening a gym, I would implement a review process, automated, like a Gym Happy type thing immediately. And the second thing is I would actually train coaches how to leverage that to get as many reviews as possible. And that the 2 pieces of advice I'll give you right now is like, one, you got to tell your class that it's happening. Hey, I ask for reviews because the feedback helps me, and the whole business, we all learn from each other's like wins and losses. So we want to know. And 2, I would use what's called the peak end rule, which is basically like a lot of the shit that I do is rooted in psychology because humans are humans, right? Peak end rule says there's two moments that you will remember in the future: the most intense moment and the end, right? So our fitness classes generally have a moment of intensity and they all have an end. And so if I was a coach, or if I was an owner, I would train my coaches to lean into that and be like, as the workout is becoming intense, and when it is for everybody, you go and talk to them. You give them motivation, you give them encouragement, you tell them like they've done a good job, you teach them something that unlocks that thing at that moment. And at the end of the class, I would bring it back up. Hey, dude, that was killer when you pushed through those last 10 burpees. You fucking did it. Good job, right? So you're not only ending it on a high note, but you're ending it with a reinforcement of the peak moment. So I think those things actually drive shit ton of reviews.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. What a great nugget of tactical advice, man. All right, well, let's wrap this episode. I've actually got 2 questions to wrap this one on for our audience. If you have owned your gym for a while and you were to go back in time, what is the piece of advice that you would give yourself? Email us, podcast@pushpress.com. And if you are a brand new gym owner that is looking to open your doors, what is the thing that you are struggling with and you can't really wrap your head around how to move forward? Email us, podcast@pushpress.com. We want to hear from you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the PushPress Podcast, where we help gym owners, entrepreneurs, and fitness enthusiasts thrive with actionable insights, inspiring stories, and strategies for growth.
Don't forget to follow the show to stay updated on new episodes. And if you're ready for more, join our free Facebook community for gym owners. Check the show notes for the link, and we'll see you next time. Keep raising the bar for your business and community.